Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a couple of tips and tricks on removing transaxles on front wheel drive vehicles. Working on a ProMaster. Now this is, some unique stuff to it being a ProMaster, but for the most part, it being front wheel drive, it's all, relatively similar. Now I have the transmission safety strap down to the transmission jack. That's so that it doesn't tip on me. Now some of these jacks will come with little holes and locks to where you can chain it on. I've always found a ratchet strap works pretty good. Now this particular transmission had a major failure. There's a lot of metal in the pan, and oftentimes you're going to have to replace the cooler lines and or transcooler. If it's just a clutch failure, you can a lot of times disconnect the cooler lines and back flush them, but you want to make sure that you go on the other end of this thermostatic valve. So this is a thermostatic valve that allows for the transmission to heat up and then opens up for it to go into the cooler. And the cooler in this case is a separate cooler located right below the radiator and the heat exchanger matrix. In this case, I'm going to have to replace it because of all that metal. Now, a couple other things to note while we're under here. I have the engine supported with a pole jack. In some cases, you can use a jig up on top to go on the fenders or the fender sills and the radiator support. I can't on this van, and the reason for that is there's really no fenders. It's got a super stubby front end. But the advantage to having a pole jack is I can manipulate the height of the engine up and down so that I can get it in and out of my motor mounts there. If I didn't have this, it would be supported only on the right side motor mount, and that would fatigue and fail. So we want to make sure that it is supported. A couple other things to note. In some cases, flex plates like this will have a centering bolt just like this one. So if I look at that one over there, it's perfectly round. And this one has the sides kind of cut short. So with the sides cut short, now this is going the wrong direction, but kind of showing that the threads are really tight, this will allow you to center up the torque converter when it's going and getting installed. So I always start with this one on whatever window you have to get these torque converter bolts out. Another thing that is unique to some vehicles, but not all, is this plate. Now this plate is a shim that goes in between the engine block and the transmission bell housing. In some cases it's used for shimming the starter out from the flex plate. It's not in this case, but it's just an adapter shim that's there for whatever reason Chrysler has made for it on this particular vehicle. But what can happen is they can kind of flop around. So a trick that I've found, and I've done it on this one, is I've hit with a punch around the dowel pin, and that makes it nice and tight, and that will prevent it from falling out. And it's better than using like silicone or tape or anything. To keep on the topic of these dowel pins are also really important too. If these are missing or come out, then you run the risk of breaking the bell housing later down the line. So it's really important to make sure that those are in place. They're almost impossible to find in terms of like going to a parts store and asking for them. So you really want to make sure that you get them. Other than that, the only other thing that you need to look out for, especially on this particular transmission, is these mount bolts do need to be replaced. If you're doing any type of work under warranty, it's important to make sure that you're getting all of the hardware that's one-time use so that the claim can get paid. This is also a good time too. This is my big large trans mount to see if it's got any hydraulic leaks, to see if the pitch mount is okay. So you pull this out and inspect to make sure there's no damage or anything there. But other than that, it's just a couple tips and tricks for removing a transaxle from a front wheel drive vehicle. Appreciate you taking the time to watch the video.